So, you want to learn more about summoner spells, do you? Well, you have come to the right place. Let's not waste any more time and look through the different spells now, shall we? Exhaust. A frequently used summoner spell with both offensive and defensive purposes. An enemy champion's movement speed and attack speed is drastically lowered. This can allow your team to catch up to him, or in reverse, open a way for you and your teammates to escape from a hairy situation. If you have one mastery point in Summoner's Wrath, you even drop the target's armor and magic resistance, making a kill on the target even more likely. A good spell for supports, AD carries, and in some cases even for the top lane. Ghost increases your movement speed by 27% or 35% if you invest it in Summoner's Wrath. It also allows you to walk through units. This is especially useful for melee champions in teamfight situations if you want to dash through the enemy team and take out the enemy's AD carry. A champion that is very notorious for this maneuver is Olaf, whose ultimate also prevents disables on him. It can also be used as an escape tool or a way to chase down an enemy. The summoner spell Heal restores a chunk of health to you and your surrounding allies. Your allies get 50% of the health you receive. Because there would be a serious balance issue with this spell in teamfight situations, each affected player gets a debuff that will reduce the effect of any further summoner heals by 50%. This debuff runs out after 35 seconds. Revive. Yes, this is a spell you should stay clear of. This thing gets you back on your feet instantly after you died with a bonus to max hit points. Although the problem is that the cooldown is extremely long and your team would benefit more if you would pick summoner spells that actually help you stay alive in the first place, so please don't bother with this one. Smite. This spell is only meant for jungle champions. It has a very short cooldown for summoner spells, 70 seconds to be exact, and deals a huge amount of true damage to a neutral monster or creep. This allows you to safely kill the buff monsters inside the jungle at level 1. You want to use this spell as often as possible, as it will also give you 10 extra gold if you spec into Summoner's Resolve. Surge. Now this is a tough one. Surge is very rarely used and I can see why. The bonus damage you get out of the spell doesn't seem like it's worth it when you take the long cooldown into account. That said, I could see myself using this spell on a champion that uses a hybrid build, or in other words, a champion that builds in such a way that he benefits from both AD and AP. The example that comes to mind would be an offensive top lane Kayle that builds items to boost the damage of her Righteous Fury auto attacks. These attacks benefit from both AD and AP, so she would benefit from both effects of this spell. So I would say, take it if you're building a hybrid character in such a manner. Don't take this spell otherwise though. Teleport is a fun spell. You can either make extremely good use of it and really change the flow of a game, or you can waste a summoner spell slot. The first and most obvious way to use teleport is to recall back to base, buy items, and get back to lane in only a few seconds without missing out on farm. This gives you a nice advantage over your opponent. But there is more to this spell. You can use it to turn over teamfights from across the map. When you see on your minimap that trouble is brewing in the bot lane, for example, you can teleport right into the fray. Granted, there is still an allied creep standing around, but this entrance is not really subtle and the enemy has time to back off when they see you teleporting in. Maybe this maneuver saved your allies, but now your original lane is unprotected. If you came from the top lane, you will have quite the hike back, so do consider these risks. Cleanse, an underappreciated gem in my eyes. I really like this spell on my AD carries. Since you are building with maximum damage in mind, as an AD carry you have a very small health pool. This means that the enemy's disables can cripple and kill you very easily. This spell helps you to prevent this. The enemy Ashe lands a crystal arrow? Cleanse it. You get chased and exhausted? Cleanse it. Maokai comes to gank and roots you? Guess what? Cleanse it. There is an item with a similar effect called the Quicksilver Sash. But all in all, it costs 1,640 gold and you want to invest your gold primarily in damage items. Clarity restores a lot of mana as stated in the spell description, but how do we make the most use of this? Normally you would buy items that serve as your mana engine, such as the Tear of the Goddess or Chalice of Harmony, but using this summoner spell allows us to focus on getting other items sooner. Alternatively, you can both use Clarity and a powerful mana engine to throw way more spells around than you could without it, and try to dominate your lane early on. This does have its disadvantages though, because if you cannot press a big enough advantage, you will have to go into the late game with a rather useless late game summoner spell and a delayed build. Naturally, this spell is only useful for champions that depend almost exclusively on their abilities that use up mana. Now here is an important one. Ignite is the second most used summoner spell in League of Legends. It allows you to place a damage over time effect on an enemy champion from afar. This is more often than not that little bit of extra damage you need to finish someone off as they seek cover behind their tower. It also has a healing reducing component to it. This helps you counter some champion abilities such as Dr. Mundo's Sadism or Fiddlestick's Strain. Also, once you hit late mid to late game, Ignite will do wonders when you attempt to take down the enemy team's AD carry. When you latch onto the enemy's AD carry, he will try to stay alive by dealing damage to you and healing himself with his lifesteal. You can drastically reduce this heal with Ignite and also put on additional damage to take him down a tad faster. Promote. This spell can be cast once every 3 minutes. This means that every second siege minion can be promoted in one lane. But this does not mean that the spell is useless. The basic idea behind this spell is to push your lane further towards the enemy tower and help you take down the bloody thing. This will not only result in an early tower kill if done correctly, but also in a lot of attention from the enemy jungler. If you and your team have good coordination, you can take advantage of this. Have your jungler nearby when you are promoting your minion to go for a little bit of lane pushing. When you get attacked by the enemy jungler, you can turn the fight around with your own jungler in hiding. Do remember though, that promote is not that useful in the later stages of the game, so once again, if you didn't press a big advantage early on, you wasted a summoner spell. Clairvoyance. Here is once again one of those spells that requires good communication with your teammates. After casting it, you and your teammates are granted vision over any given location on the entire map. Clairvoyance has only a 70-second cooldown, so don't hold back on using it. In the early and mid game, you want to use this spell to sniff out the enemy's jungler. Combined with good ward placement, you can track his or her movements rather efficiently, and thus prevent your lanes from dying because of unexpected ganks. Also, if you have a strong suspicion that the enemy jungle is inside your own jungle, you can allow your teammates an easy kill if you find him there using Clairvoyance. But Clairvoyance also stays useful in the later stages of the game, since you can check the brushes around Baron, or any other brush for that matter, without having to get too close to place a ward. This can prevent disastrous ambushes laid by the enemy or even turn their clustered position against them. I would not take this spell on anyone aside from the support. Having more than one is wasteful, and your other champions will want other summoner spells. That said, I think this is the best summoner spell for support if you're using voice chat. Now at long last we arrive at the king of summoner spells. Flash is used almost every match by everyone on both teams. The reason for that is quite simple. It is the most reliable escape tool there is. Upon activation, your character teleports a certain distance towards your cursor. But this can of course not only be used as an escape tool. You will find yourself in situations where you want to get closer towards the enemy as fast as possible. Flash can provide you with the necessary mobility. You can also travel through walls with Flash even when you do not have sight of the area behind the wall. If you decide not to take Flash, you will give up a lot of mobility and tactical possibilities. So only do so if you have a very good strategic reason to do so. So, now that you know about the various summoner spells available in Summoner's Rift, what are you gonna do next? If you want to test them, go knock yourself out. But if you still want to learn more, the annotation in the top right hand corner takes you back to the menu.